Less than 48 hours.
Can you believe it? Blake Murphy, who's been so patient, put up with Ken and me
Blake's
for the
been
last
here
couple
since
of
7 in the
hours.
morning.
Yeah, Eastern time. We have to talk
yes.
Eastern time. And let's start with the Blue Jays, who are sitting back watching this whole game unfold. Watch Detroit throw out all their pitchers. Seattle, they put out 3 starters tonight. Now they have to fly 5 hours across the country. And as Ken just said, this game for ALCS game number 1 is in less than 48 hours.
Yeah, you're licking your chops if you're the Blue Jays. You're wondering who is going to start for the Seattle Mariners. They use 3 starters. You could turn Luis Castillo around. Maybe. We don't know if Brian Woo's going to be available. But if your opponent doesn't know who they're going to start in game 1, that's a pretty good start to the series for you. While you've had 3 days to rest guys up, line up your rotation, see if Bo Bichette can get back. You're in good shape here.
Can we call up the tweet from the Blue Jays? I love this tweet. I saw this a little bit ago. The ref watching Seattle and Detroit just duke it out. I mean, that was an absolute dream scenario. If you are Toronto, does anything change how you would approach a Seattle team now as opposed to how you would approach a Seattle team before this game if you thought they were going to win?
Not necessarily. I think a couple small things stand out. You see how that ballpark plays this time of year. There were a lot of fly balls earlier in that game that could have sent us home much earlier that just kind of hang up there in the cold and the thick this time of year. You also look at maybe a Mariners lineup that was 3rd in the league in home runs and doesn't look all that dangerous in this series. The other thing, too, is the Mariners, from a game plan perspective, just through the Tigers slider after slider after slider. So I think there's nothing that's changing your game plan, but when you play a 15-inning game where every pitch matters so much, you can pick up some pretty good data on how that team's going to approach you if the similar situation comes up.
Okay, you brought up Bo Bichette just earlier because there are still decisions to be made. And the big thing that Bo Bichette said the other day after they won in New York was he wants to be able to run the bases, which is important. Even if you put him at DH, it's a bit of a risk if you put him in and then have to take him out. So where does that stand? Yeah,
we don't have an update yet. We expect to get one, at least a little bit of a light update tomorrow when they do a workout day down at Rogers Center in the afternoon. But I'd imagine they're going to do what they did last time and say, yeah, we'll see at 10 a.m. On Sunday. So, look, Bo Bichette is a good enough hitter that you trust the bat as soon as he's able to get back in the lineup. I'm not worried about him coming back and, not having quality at bats, not being able to put contact in. But you're already dealing with a situation where Anthony Santander looks like a guy who should probably DH. George Springer is a guy who he calls it OP, but he's DHing most days, and that's helped keep him fresh. So this is a team that values defense enough that I don't really know how you work it out with 3 designated hitters on the roster, but Bo Bichette's bat is important enough that you just figure it out if he can swing it.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited because I'm going to get paid for the next at least week to say big dumper on national television, and I'm not going to get in trouble for it. How do you approach the big dumper if you're the Blue Jays?
Yeah, you approach it pretty carefully. The fascinating thing about his season has not just been the power, but the fact that he's a switch hitter who does it from both sides of the plate equally well. So if you're looking at your bullpen management, you just came off a Yankees series where you have to avoid Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton with lefties around them. Seattle won't have that, but they go righty switch, righty switch. So you've really got to kind of pick your poison when you're figuring out how to navigate the top 4 in their order. This one's extra terrifying because before Cal Raleigh became the toast of the American League, he was already a Jays killer when he was just a guy. So that's an extra scary element. I think the answer is just you tread very, very carefully. We saw Detroit intentionally walk him in a big spot tonight, so maybe that's in the mix too, given that the Blue Jays did use the intentional walk more than almost any other team in baseball.
So you're going from a best of 5 to a best of 7, which changes who you're carrying as pitchers. I know there's been a lot of talk. Ken is not a big fan of bullpen, although maybe he is now.
Well, neither one of us like the switch tonight.
So there's talk about, do you add Bassett or Scherzer or both?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think you're definitely adding at least one of them. And the reason you don't really want to put yourself in a situation with a bullpen day in a 7-game series is because you have 3 straight game days in a row on the road. So you think about the way the bullpen day played out, where Shane Bieber didn't get out of the 3rd inning the day before. If you have that and a bullpen day, you're in big trouble by the time Game 5 rolls around. So I think there will be a 4th starter on the roster. The last we heard, Max Scherzer was throwing 5-inning simulated games, while Chris Bassett was only throwing 3-inning simulated games. So maybe that tells you Scherzer is ahead as a starter. I think Justin Brule coming off the roster since you're not facing the Yankees, who have infinite lefties, is a logical one. If you want Chris Bassett on there for length, that's when you get into the conversation of, does Tommy Nance, who was one of the only guys not used in that bullpen day, does he come off to give you a little extra length to cover those 3 days?
Does Seattle have to go with a bullpen game for game number 1, given what we just saw?
Luis Castillo didn't throw a lot of pitches, and I know it's a 2-day turnaround, but guys will throw 15, 20 pitches at much lower intensity, mind you, a couple days before the start. So maybe he can turn it around quickly. We don't know the status of Brian Wu yet. Bryce Miller's their one starter who didn't pitch in this game. So they have some options, but the fact that none of them are clear, none of them seem like good options right now, is exactly where you want to be if you're the Blue Jays.
As for games 1, 2 starters at home, same recipe as versus the Yankees, or you mix it up?
You can get a little creative with it if you want, and hey, maybe if you wait until game 3 with Trey Savage, he could be out of the bullpen in game 1. I think this one's pretty straightforward. You start the guy, everyone's rested. You start the guys that you like the best in the order that you have the confidence in them. You saw Trey Savage do it at home in a big spot. Keep him as the game 2 starter. Roll it Gausman, Savage, and Bieber again. You'd have those guys available then for games 5, 6, and 7 if it comes to it as well. Don't overthink this one. Start them in the order that you've got them on your depth chart.
And we have some awesome Canadian content from Seattle. 2 dudes in this series for the Mariners.
Yeah, Josh Naylor, who had a great game today, did one of my favorite things, which is a slower guy stealing bases. He had 30 on the season, and he's now 9 for 9 stealing third base. So Jays pitchers will have to be very, very aware of that. And then the other side, Matt Brash with a pretty big spot in the bullpen for the Mariners there. Obviously, in a series like this, especially if you don't know who your game 1 starter is, every reliever takes on a little bit of extra importance. But yeah, Naylor's a big one to me, Mississauga's own. And the Jays pitchers have not done the best job this year controlling the running game. So a guy like that who isn't based on speed, he's based on sneakiness. If he gets on second base, get your eyes ready.
Stole third tonight, right?
My kids love Naylor and Brash, so they're gonna be hurting this series.
Hey, we appreciate you sticking around. We know it's been a long day, so yeah.
No complaints here. A historic game like this that benefits the Blue Jays. Come on, I'll stay here all night.
Part of it. All right, appreciate it, Blake. Let's go to Seattle now. And speaking of Naylor, here he is with Arden Zwelling.